Everyone has a price. Everyone has to pay. The $1 million man always gets his way. What's up, everybody? It's the Hardy Construction. You can Google Hardy Construction and find us on Twitter, Instagram.
That was beautiful.
Thank you. With your host, Komp and
2010.
What a ridiculous show this is. Today's film is
I Saw the Devil. My Name, 2010.
I Saw the Devil, 2010. Ang-ma-reul boatada. That's what it says. I don't know how that means.
Ang-ma-reul. I guess that's what I Saw the Devil translates to.
A secret agent exacts revenge on a serial killer through a series of captures and releases. Directed by Jee-woon Kim as Kim Jee-woon, okay? Written by Jee-woon Kim, who's adapting the screenplay by... Who did an adaptation of the screen? What the... Anyway, Hoon-jung Park did it. And then stars Byung-Hun Lee, Min-sik Choi, Joon-Hyuk Lee. Boy, I don't know about you. I'm feeling pretty hungry. So, Danny, why'd you pick I Saw the Devil?
Because so far, Korean horror has not let me down.
That's true. It's pretty good. Pretty good.
It's pretty good.
Did you know Bernie Sanders is a millionaire and now people are listening to him? Isn't that funny? That is funny. Okay. Sorry to get political for a second here. It's just funny because people were like, oh, Bernie's full of shit. Bernie's full of shit. Not because he made millions of dollars off of a book and he's releasing his taxes. They're like, hey, this guy might be onto something.
Yeah, right.
Hey, good for him if that helps him in any way. Okay.
Whatever. I want him to win.
Very good, very good. Okay, so you picked this because Korean movies are very good. And why don't you give us a little rundown about what this film is about?
This is about a man whose fiance, a cop whose fiance is killed by a serial killer. So he goes on to make a series of the worst decisions possible.
Who, the serial killer or the cop?
Both of them. Well, no, the cop mostly.
I think the cop had some good ideas. You know, here's the thing. I don't blame people for vengeance, right?
No, I don't, but he could have done a better job. Like, I was thinking of stuff I would do is, like, the first thing you do is cut off his thumbs. Now he can't stab, you know? The second thing you do is cut off his right foot.
Why don't you just cut off both of his hands? That'd be good,
Well,
too.
no, if you want to tease it out of him and do it little by little, okay. First time you see him, cut off his thumbs. He still has the option to
kind of pick his nose. I won't allow that. I can't.
No, but you can't. Okay, fine. Then cut off the tips of all of his fingers, like the guy in Game of Thrones.
That's true. So the Korean films have a sort of weird morality in them, where some films accept vengeance and then some films don't. Films like Old Boy, which we will cover soon, they say, you did something mildly terrible, you're gonna suffer for it.
Forever, for 15 years.
Movies like there's a movie like Sympathy for Mr. Vengeance, where something happens to this. God damn, that's a depressing movie. It was a great movie. A guy loses his daughter because she's kidnapped.
Is it a horror?
No. I'd still love to talk about that movie, but that's a sad movie. But it's great. And it's like you could take vengeance on people, but it will bite you on the ass. Lady Vengeance. That one, you can have vengeance and it's okay. So, like, I guess maybe because she's a woman and her child is murdered so she can get vengeance, it's good. Films like this, he's allowed to have his vengeance up to a point where then he has become the guy he is, essentially.
It's okay if he becomes a terrible person. To me, like if somebody killed like somebody I really loved, I would absolutely embrace being a terrible person to get them back. But I would do it in a way that couldn't bite me in the ass.
Right. I have no problems with absolute vengeance upon people.
Not that this is a good movie. It's not. This is a good movie. But I'm saying the movie I'm about to mention isn't necessarily a great movie. But you know that American Mary movie?
Ugh, yes.
Yeah, and you know that she gets raped by that professor or the surgeon guy, and then like spends the whole movie just like turning him into this subhuman creature, like cutting off his limbs and
That's
sewing.
Fine, yeah. And then she kills like innocent people on the way to do
it. Yeah, never mind any other aspect. Just that part, like she turns him into this like crawling worm creature. Like it's wonderful.
That's great.
Yeah, like that's what needed to happen to this guy.
Yes. He should have kept mutilated. It would have been a different movie, but
He should. Yeah, it couldn't have been very long. Like cut off like his foot and his right hand, and also cut out his tongue, and then the next time like remove one of his eyes and deafen him. Like anything. Like that would be great.
yeah, because this is more of it is a horror thriller just because of the serial killer aspect, because it's very graphic. The violence.
Oh my god, the violence is brutal.
Unless it's on Hulu, where they strangely cut scenes out of the movie for some reason.
Yeah, guys, just so you know, if you watch this on Hulu, there is actually a whole like rape kind of consensual scene in there that was cut out.
What's strange is I thought Hulu was part of NBC, but it's owned by Disney. So maybe this is where they cut that out. They were like,
Disney decided we're only allowed 7 rape murders in this in our films. Like 8 is pushing it.
The editor was there and he goes, "I can't let this happen." And just like cut out the rape scene. I don't know. Anyway, so you just reminded me like the cutting the feet off of the guy. Like there was, Nick Riviera, like the only like Latino character in The Simpsons was not Bumblebee guy.
I haven't watched The Simpsons in
My
like
favorite
15 years.
because Nick Riviera is like a doctor, like a quack doctor, and he's like, "This is Mr. McGregor with arms for feet and feet for legs," or some shit like that. It's just all right. There's no reason why I just brought that up. Anyway, so so we are following Special Agent. First off, the movie starts out with this young, classy, fancy, pretty lady in her car. Car's broken down. She's talking to her fiance or her husband, played by Byung-Hun Lee. This guy who might actually look scarier than the main bad guy, because it's like he looks like a normal handsome guy, but then when you see him, like his face is completely cold. He looks like a fucking psychopath.
No, he's real scary.
Yeah, he's one of those Korean. I was gonna say Korean American. He's a Korean actor, and I think he was in G.I. Joe. He was playing Storm Shadow in that movie. I don't know if Storm Shadow's the white. Yeah, Storm Shadow's like the white ninja compared to Snake Eyes, the black ninja. What made me insane is that I remember reading G.I. Joe. They showed Storm Shadow's face once. He's like a white guy. I always thought those two characters were Asian.
Honestly, I used to watch G.I. Joe as a kid, and I didn't understand it, and I didn't get what I was watching at all. Like, it made no sense to me, but I watched it anyway.
It's happening in real life now. Anyway, but Byung-Hun Lee is playing the main character. He's playing Kim So-hyun, but I will call him the cop or the main character because these names, it's not out of racism. It's just
they're hard to retain. Let's call him Kim. Let's call him Kim.
No, I'm going to call him Cop. So anyway, the cop, you call him all you want. The cop is, he was supposed to pick her up or something like that, and she ends up getting killed and like mutilated by this.
No, there's supposed to be a tow truck.
No, but wasn't he supposed to be there to like meet her and stuff like this?
He had work on her birthday.
Right. This is a very well researched podcast. And
I researched it.
What ends up happening is that she ends up getting murdered by Min-sik Choi's character Kyung Chul, and Kyung, who's the serial killer of the film. Here's the thing: when it says "I saw the devil," you're not really sure of who the devil is, like whether the cop is seeing him as the devil.
I think they saw each other.
Right. So when they sort of reflect each other in the film, towards the end of it. But anyway, serial killer kills his wife, and she is the daughter of an ex-police chief. And he is a special agent, so that there's like good amount of, and good representation of grief in this film.
Yeah,
it's like
the acting is really good.
It's very good acting. I've always thought Korean films have great acting in it. It's other films.
Yeah, I haven't seen like any bad actors in any of them. Actually,
you can like sort of I'm sure there's really bad over the top sort of Korean films, but I haven't seen them yet. I've seen bad over-the-top acting in Japanese films, and I've certainly seen them in Chinese films. But they're funny in the Chinese ones with like super bad actors. But Korean films, they're pretty good. Like these are like South Korean cinemas, like just
like top notch so far.
It's just.
I mean, also to be fair, we're purposefully watching the best
good ones. Yeah, I guess so. So anyway, serial killer inadvertently is caught by the cop because he is hearing that there are 4 suspects. He goes on a campaign of beating the shit up. He beats this guy's genitals with a hammer who's trying to watch pornography.
That was very brutal.
I laughed at the one with when he just drives into the guy in his moped. That was pretty funny, on a motorcycle. And then he actually ends up catching Kyung, and he just puts him in a series. It becomes like a cat and mouse movie where he makes a promise to his dead wife that he's going to make the killer suffer 1,000 times
What's crazy
worse.
about it, though, I mean, there's a lot of, I thought it was a great movie, but there are a lot of points in here where I'm like, this is silly, like, or this is, like, not the best idea.
In what?
Like,
go ahead.
Like, for one thing, the cops, I get that, like, his dad is his father-in-law is, like, the chief, and so he's kind of giving him this power to do this, but, like, I would imagine that the cops would probably be a little more, like, stopping him once they found out, and also, they, like, knew that these 4 possible people were suspects who have been accused of doing these types of things, yet none of these guys were in,
custody?
Yeah.
But I think
But they should have had, like, tails on them and shit, you know?
They
like,
did, though. They did. Like, the first guy did. The guy who was jerking off, there were people waiting for him outside of his house. So they were, like, having eyes on them. Maybe it's just not as easy to be like, oh, there he is. You know what I mean? They had names came up. But I guess, the jerking off guy was easy to find, but not the other ones. So they did find them. I mean, the main character found.
I didn't know where it was going because I didn't know anything about the movie.
Yeah.
And so when he found them, like, so quick into the movie, I was like, okay. Like,
he's a special agent, so I mean, he knew, I guess, ways to tail people easier than others. Do you know what I mean? That's why he was able to put the implants inside the main bad guy, which is weird because when I first saw the film, like, I had some weird idea that he put it under his scalp. But then I was probably just mixing that up from another film.
Well, he shoves it into his mouth, but I mean, it goes down in his
Yeah, I was trying to figure out what movies had that where, like, how long does it take to digest? I thought it was like 18 hours or 11 hours to digest something you've eaten the day before.
No, it's like designed to stay.
Oh, I see. Okay, so there you go. That's top-notch spy equipment that he's
The only
using.
way it could come out is with diarrhea.
So the movie, it's I wouldn't say its selling point is its gore, but it certainly helps with the film.
It's really unexpectedly violent. Like,
it's extremely graphic, and it doesn't feel exploitative. Like, there's a certain way to frame violence in this film. It's pretty good. It's in the vein of what was that movie that we saw with the Irish? Oh no, the British hitmen.
Kill List.
The Kill List, right? Remember when they go to that pedophile's house, that priest who had all the child pornography and murder films, and then he beats him over the head with a hammer and kills him, and his head splits open? Sort of like that. It's sort of like muted but extremely graphic violence, and it's very satisfying in this film. Well, I don't know what happens to nice people, but it's extremely graphic. Like the part, just the part alone. Like, and I'm like surprised that this film was not. There were plans to remake it. I'm sure there were, because there's always trying to remake good movies.
They shouldn't even bother. It's so good. Like,
I know it would probably be like Tom Hanks chasing fucking Kevin Spacey or something. Some sort of movie like
Kevin Spacey molests children. He starts playing roles of pedophiles.
Because I saw the child butt fucker, and then you see Tom Hanks walking around with those.
It's called I Saw the Priest.
He walks around in disguise with that big, like, fucking Buster Brown hair, the blonde hair, and a giant lolly. Anyway, so there are, like, some super standout scenes in this film with just horrific violence in it. One definitely being why I brought up the American remake is the scene with the taxi cab alone.
That's a great scene.
When the main bad guy is happened upon by 2 sort of thieves in this taxi cab. Like, they were gonna, like, they made him as a mark because they picked him up in the night. This is like the night after he got his ass whipped by the cop. Oh, the first night, right? The cop kicked his ass.
It was the first night. So
they're about to, like, rob him. There's like a guy in the back seat ready to hold a knife on him, and then he just fucking kills both of those guys in a great sort of spin around 360 camera sequence inside the car, and it's just really well done. And I'm like, wow, I'm waiting for somebody to rip that off. Somebody definitely has ripped that off.
I mean, that was an amazing scene. But this brings me back to my point here that I was making earlier, which I didn't finish. The amount of traumas that this man faces, he would I know it's a movie, but physically, if someone broke your wrist, you're not going to be able to like, the guy stomps on his wrist. You're not going to be able to be stabbing people like that. Or, like, somebody takes a knife and shoves it through your Achilles tendon and cuts it all the way out, you're not walking. Like, this is impossible.
That's just called human endurance. That's how much his love for killing happened.
He'd be hopping around and he got hit in the head so many times, and then he was in a car crash from the stabbing.
Yeah, every time he smashed him over the head, I was like, okay, that's a little bit too much. This guy would have like a fucking concussions like crazy.
He smashed him in the head so hard that blood was pouring out. But then he was in a car going full speed into a tree.
But also that fabulous part where when his Achilles tendon is popped out. Because I remember I brought up this movie called Piercing that just came out. It's a Japanese novel, and they remade it, I think, with an American director. I'm not sure, maybe an European director. Yeah. I read the original novel, and they explain the sound of popping somebody's Achilles tendon sounds like air coming out of a tire, or like a hiss. And you sort of hear that in this film, but it was like super horrifying. It's really bad. It's weird because it's essentially the same thing as in Gerald's game. You know, when she slices her skin off of her hand. It should be as graphic as that, but that was still worse to me than this.
That was
watching
worse,
it now. I was like, I literally could not watch that scene in Gerald's game.
No, that's one of the only times in my life I've actually gone to cover my eyes. I forced myself to watch it, but I looked through my hands.
It's weird because I know it's fake. I look at it, I know it's fake, but the idea of it is so like
it
visceral.
Was so horrible, that scene.
But
oh my god!
That the leg popping in here, the Achilles tendon in here is about as graphic as that. It's like very graphic, and anyway, so that scene happens, and that's like I like it because what I like about this film is that it sort of reminds me of like the serial killer rarely has the upper hand in the film. It really is like it's almost like the main cop guy is like Jason Voorhees, and he just pops in and fucks up this bad guy's like day every time. But like the bad guy never really truly has upper hand on him until he sort of like takes the tracker off of him. And then obviously he fucks up the father-in-law and kills the sister.
There's this I saw
that's the only time where I knew that had to happen. Once I saw those two characters in the film, I was like, yeah, they're fucked because he's gonna do something where it's gonna come back to haunt him. Because I think that's
he got greedy. He let him go one too many times.
Right. I think that's the whole point of the film. I don't think he got. I don't know what it is though, because there's a point where I'm sure his wife, if she was still alive, she would never want him to do what he did. You know. Yeah. So I think that's the whole point of the film. Like that's why it's always like a gray area.
Well, he should have definitely. No, I get it, but he definitely should have cut the guy's hands off or something.
Yeah, I think what happened is he obviously he tasted the joy in the violence that guy had. I don't think he necessarily did it in an evil way. He just made him feel good to hurt this person that made his like wife suffer. And so I mean it's very interesting and moral ambiguity, especially that whole because to me the only super over the top part is when the bad guy thinks he's won, so he gives himself up to the police, and then the cop comes in with this fucking Fast and the Furious car move where he fucking slides right up to him and takes him into the car with him, and like kidnaps him. Like that's
I love
great.
That scene. Actually,
it's great. No, I think it's great. It's just so fucking. To me, that's the most over the top part. And I think it is like.
I think the most over the top part is that someone cut your Achilles tendon and beat you in the head 40 times, and you're still walking around.
No, but the thing why I think that's real is the nurse, he tells her to wait there. So she definitely sewed him up.
Yeah, but, dude, I fell the other day. I fell, and I cut my knee, and I've been limping for like 4 days. And it wasn't even a bad fall. It wasn't like somebody was viciously beating me and taking a knife and cutting my tendons. Like, it was just like a fall. I grazed my skin. That's it.
Well, there's also that scene with when the main bad guy goes to his good friend, his serial killer friend's house. See, usually you'd be like, oh man, there's so many serial killers. Like that. They were like, yeah, there's so many serial killers in this movie. How can that be? But it has happened. You think about like Otis Toole and Henry Lee Lucas and their It's so funny. What you don't hear about that is that they were like gay lovers. I had no idea about that until I listened to the last podcast on the left, which explained their friendship.
I mean, I guess you find like-minded people.
Yeah. Oh, not that there's anything wrong with them being gay. It was just when you see the movie Henry, Portrait of a Serial Killer, that has nothing to do. That's absolutely not in the film. So I was like, oh shit, like what the fuck? Yeah. But they cut that out. But so yeah, you can be friends with this guy. But he didn't butt fuck his friend. He fucked his the friend's girlfriend in the ass.
Yeah, that scene was not in Hulu.
In the Hulu version, they cut it out, and I was showing Danny.
Which is bullshit.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't understand why, but whatever.
And it ended up being I mean, it was consensual. She was totally into it.
Well, at the beginning she was like, no, and then she got into it, I guess.
Can you imagine dating that cannibal guy though?
Hey, well,
and that makes me feel even worse. How come he could get a girlfriend? What's wrong with me? Should I start eating people?
That guy was also in something else. The guy who was cannibal. He definitely something else that I saw, and it's just driving me nuts that I don't know who the fuck he is. Anyway, so that whole scene, and then in the hospital when he splits the guy's lips open with his thumbs because he's like trying to figure out who it is. It's like super graphic. It's very violent.
It's really, really graphic. Yeah.
So I mean that's basically the whole idea of the film, and then he learns earlier about the family of the main guy. And how I think the main bad guy left that family because because the family says, he doesn't give a shit about us, he just abandoned us. But I think he wanted to keep them separate from what he did. Like maybe he did have some sort of morality. He definitely wanted to keep his son away from it. Yeah. Because at the very end when he sets him up, because the guy felt like the cop felt like shit. I don't really, this guy's obviously a lunatic and he's a serial killer and he doesn't give a shit what I do to him, and he just hurts and he just continues to do what he does. Like anybody else would be like the first guy who beats his dick with a hammer, like he went right to the cops and confessed to murder. Yeah, and this guy was like, fuck it, I'll take myself to the cops and you can't do anything to me. I'll win in the end. So he was like, what can I do? And then he figured that his son was the only thing that, because I was like, will he really give a shit if his son is? And apparently he did, because he was telling them not to open the door because he didn't want his son to become like him. So that
was great. And his son's probably fucked for life now.
It's very satisfying because he made that kid do what his father did. It's just like insanity, which just sucks because that's where he crosses the line. You know what I mean? Yeah. But it's still satisfying in a way. But you wonder now what's happening. He's obviously going to go to jail or something. Something's going to happen to him. Who knows?
He's probably going to kill himself is what's going to happen.
Could be because he loses his mind at the end. And but he is a special agent.
I assumed it was going to end with him killing himself.
He's obviously going to lose his career or something is going to happen. I don't know if the special agents are going to be like, nothing happened here.
Imagine right after that scene, the town throws him a big party and he gets an award. He gets a Nobel Peace Prize, and then some new a cousin of his fiance comes and she looks just like the fiance, and he gets married. He's totally happy.
And then he jumps up in the air and the movie freezes and there's white doves floating in the air and you see big cartoon Korean graffiti in the sky.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. From the clouds.
The one thing I love is that his jacket. I've been telling Danny before he.
Yeah, his jacket's really good.
It's such a beautiful jacket. There are only two some certain clothes when you watch in a film, and I used to be fashionable for a short period of time. I was very fashionable, and I would have loved to have.
What happened?
I became a psychopath. But this guy's jacket is here, and then there's also a guy. There's a movie called Punisher Warzone. It's not a good Punisher film, but the bad guy has this white, fucked up jacket. Oh my god, the clothing is so Korean clothing. I've always said, damn, I don't know if this sounds terrible. I said Asian people know how to dress. I don't know if that's bad.
Well, certain countries are more fashionable.
They're very thin and trim people because they follow diets and stuff like that. But they dress so well. Their clothing just.
I say Europeans know how to dress. That's them the same
too. Yeah,
shit.
well, that's because you're racist, and I was giving compliments to Asians. But you you always gotta keep it.
I only value the fashion of white people.
Clogs and fucking. Anyway, So what kind of thoughts do you have on this film? What do you think it was trying to say?
I think it was about the guy became the monster in the end, but from my perspective, I am totally cool with that because what can I say? I've always been a fan of Magneto over Professor X, it's that kind of thought process. That guy fucking, if anyone deserves to have somebody his own medicine against him, it's that guy. So, but I just wish the cop had been fucking smarter, but it wouldn't have been the same movie at all.
Because I think, what do you think is the dumb part? Is the fact that he got his father? Because I think the only fuck up, obviously, is the father-in-law and the sister.
He didn't incapacitate him enough. He should have made it so he can't harm other people.
I get what you mean.
He could have cut off 3 fingers per time that he got him, and by the time it was he was, figured out the deal and got rid of the tracker, he'd have no hands. And that's it. He'd be useless.
Yeah,
we should like blinded one eye and deafened one ear, and then blinded another eye and deafened another ear.
Yeah, there's so many great ways to do stuff to people, just terribly. Bad people. That's what I would say.
Not people like Alex, for example.
Hey, stop it. Unfortunately, people have more morals than they do in this. Like, so bad people still ravages this planet as is. Yes. So
Where are you, Kim, with the awesome jacket when we need you here in America?
Get part 2. Anyway, with that, what rating would you give this film?
Regardless of the unrealistic physical capacities of this man and my issues, I would give this like a solid 8.5. 8.5 out of 10. Cutting out a wonderful sex scene.
Yep, that's
and then, watching it later and being like, okay, this woman's crazy. I didn't understand why she was with this cannibal, but there she is, sticking her tongue out as a serial killer has anal sex with her.
Mm-hmm. I would give this movie a 9 out of 10. About to, giving it a good jerk, and then your porn gets cut off. And then you get beaten in the testicles with a hammer. It's not fun. So this director also did a super, it's considered one of the better, one of the best Korean horror, not just Korean, but one of the best horror films of all time is this movie called A Tale of Two Sisters, which they did.
I wanted to see that one too, actually.
Which they did a horrible American remake for it too, but which had some good actors in it, but it's just in a bad film.
Oh, speaking of horrible remakes. Apparently, Pet Sematary.
That's what I heard. Yeah, I heard it's really bad.
Yeah, I have a friend who saw it, and he was like, "Oh man, I can't even think of any good scenes."
Yeah, apparently, in that movie,
stinks.
Yeah, in that movie, they say, "Sometimes living is better," and then nothing happens. I'm so funny. Anyway, with that, Danny, what's the final word?
Stage name.
Deconstruction.